Hi everyone, my name is Debbie Carpenter and today I am here to speak with you about distinguished practice in the area of instructive feedback. You'll notice the quote on this slide reads, "Whenever you have truth, it must be given with love, or the message and the messenger will be rejected." In this presentation, I will be talking with you about when we give instructive feedback, it is very important that we remain validating and that we begin with positives so that our students have something to hang their hat on, if you will. So that gives them hope to continue to work hard for you. Let's first take a look at the IQR rubric. All of you should be familiar with this rubric, as this is the way that your courses are evaluated by your evaluator on your once-a-year course review. So if you look at the area that we want you to be shooting for, the area of distinguished, you'll notice that with the yellow arrow. Now, what sets apart distinguished instruction from proficient? If you notice the words that have been in boldface for you, challenges and inspires, specific suggestions, and taking a look at specific work and thinking. When you do give distinguished feedback, you are helping students to really hone in and think about their work, think about next steps, and your detail within that feedback is helping them to really understand what it is you're looking for in their next area of growth. So again, if we're talking about the difference between distinguished and proficient, another word that you will find is consistently. This should be something that doesn't happen occasionally, doesn't happen one week and then not the next. When we look at what makes an instructor distinguished, we're looking for this level of work being consistent. We're also looking at meeting and surpassing the requirement, not simply meeting, but going a step above and beyond to really provide that additional support for students in the area of feedback. So let's talk about some other things that instructors do to promote high quality feedback. These are the things that we would be looking for in your course, for example. So when an instructor allocates points, that these are justified in some manner. For example, if there is a deduction, that the instructor explains clearly why points were deducted. We want students to be able to reflect and repair their work and improve themselves so that they do have the opportunity to earn full points next time. We look at instructors' commentary being individualized and personalized versus being generic for each and every student. We want to see that that feedback really reflects what each student individually has done. Now, certainly there are ways to be effective in providing feedback. You may have, for example, one portion of your verbiage which is standardized for all students, and that's okay. Perhaps you are recapping the purpose of the assignment, or there is something else that is really effective when given to each student. However, you then want to customize that to reflect what each particular student has done. We also look at instructive feedback being future focused. Next time, try this. When you do this again, have you considered this? So you really want to not just critique what has gone wrong, but you want to give them an actionable item. What's next step? What will that look like? Also, when we look at instructive feedback, we want to see that the instructor addresses at least 3 written communication and research skills. For example, content quality, the organization of the assignment, the general mechanics, and also APA formatting. But APA should not be the be-all, end-all. It should not encompass all of the comments that you make on a student's paper. And you will be able to note this also on the most recent copy of the online instructor expectations, which is available for you also within the modules of this course. Also, we look for an instructor to provide formative feedback in the discussion forums as well, and you're going to see some exemplars of this shortly. So here's exemplar number 1. This is where an instructor has embedded comments within a waypoint assignment. When time allows, this is what we would like to see each and every time you provide feedback, because when a student is able to see comments within original context, that makes them more authentic and more meaningful, because a student knows exactly where you were in his or her assignment when you were thinking this very comment. So you'll notice the level of detail. You'll notice that the instructor is identifying with the emotion that has been shared here by the student. The instructor is then validating as to how the student can use this as a learning experience. So seeing the level of detail here is important for you. Exemplar 2. Here is an example of how an instructor might use summative comments instead of embedded comments. There may be times, for example, when a student has submitted a PowerPoint or a Prezi presentation or a link to another type of digital tool where no embedded comments are possible, that as an instructor, you can still be distinguished in the manner in which you provide feedback by being detailed, by selecting specific strengths and opportunities for a student to note in his or her work. So you'll notice this as you read the paragraph, that the instructor begins with positive elements, and they're very specific. It's not a good job, great PowerPoint. The student will really be able to tell that the instructor has read through the presentation. Notice that the instructor has even taken out a favorite line of the presentation, again, to show that attention to detail. At the end, you'll notice that the instructor has given a piece of constructive feedback, something regarding the spelling of an appropriate word. So, and again, ending with a positive, an impressive effort here, Leah, congratulations. So again, as we reflect on the quote at the beginning of this presentation, the manner in which you provide that truth is just as important as the truth that you provide. Here's another exemplar of what feedback might look like on a discussion. Now, as you know, we use the SpeedGrader program within the Canvas platform. And here is an example of how a paragraph of written feedback below the rubric can really personalize the feedback for each student. You'll notice the colored arrows here to kind of call your attention to some things. Number one, always use names to personalize the tone of the feedback. Number two, the green arrow, begin with a positive. What has the student done well? You want Larry to have something to hang his hat on as he considers your, your constructive feedback. Then you'll see in the red arrow, explicit feedback about strengths and opportunities. So while Larry has done some things very well, the instructor wants to remind Larry to participate in one of the all-call opportunities to engage. And this might be specific to this instructor, but it is nonetheless a piece of constructive feedback. And then ending with encouragement, keeping up the effort. This is what matters. It's all about the effort. Exemplar 4. This is important in terms of providing modeling for the level of elaboration that we like to see in distinguished instruction. So you'll notice here that at the top, this instructor has written something in red. Clearly, the instructor wants to get the attention of Shannon and the class. So here the instructor begins by talking about referencing something in Shannon's post. And then the instructor goes on to share a personal/professional story to again elaborate on the point or the content being shared. So after this part, you'll notice in the middle of the screen where it says calling all thinkers. This is simply an opportunity, one way that an instructor can get lots of students in the class to engage together. So this is an all call, calling all thinkers. The instructor has then posed a thoughtful question for the students to think about and respond to, so that the instructor then can come and follow up with students who are sharing responses, who are perhaps engaging with each other on this particular question. So again, this is designed to provide feedback within the discussion forum and to offer additional opportunities to engage. Now, here is another exemplar that is shared with you so that you can see that you can actually provide feedback on content, citations, formatting, right within the discussion forums themselves. Remember, it's all about the manner that you do this. If you foster a culture where everybody is there to learn, where nobody is perfect, and where you might be sharing suggestions for strengthening posts while the class is in session. If you do this at the beginning of the course, students will know to expect this, and it can be done in a very friendly, supportive, non-threatening way. So here the instructor is talking to Shannon and reminding Shannon of the importance of supporting what she says with credible research. So it's not enough to just tell students you really need to do this, but to model it for them so that they can see what is it that my instructor wants me to do. So you'll notice the instructor provides an example at the bottom and tells Shannon to think of sharing research as building a sandwich, with the top piece of bread being an original idea, the middle fillings being the research, and then not forgetting that bottom piece of bread, which is the analysis, which is the student then returning and sharing why was it important to share that quote? What was the point that he or she wanted the reader to understand? And so then below that, you can see an example, and you can see where the research is actually being highlighted. Lastly, notice what the instructor does to Shannon. Will you kindly repost for me and include a citation so I know you have it? It's also important that distinguished instructors hold students accountable for making that next step in their growth and development. So here Shannon is going to have to prove to her instructor that she can put a citation in and follow it with her analysis. This example is designed to show you what we would call a tier 2 discussion response and what it looks like. So here the instructor has already shared or posed a question to which Rose has responded. And not only did Rose respond, but she also included an article in her response. And as an instructor, you want to commend students who are also sharing resources, who are going above and beyond to find things that help to further explain their point or to enrich the learning environment for all students. So you'll notice here as you're listening to me talk, this is an opportunity for an instructor to read the article that's been shared by the student, to comment on it. And here the instructor has actually shared a personal story to again hone in on the points being made. So again, when we think about distinguished instruction, we think about the level of instructor elaboration. We think about personal stories. We think about professional experiences and sharing those to make the content rich and alive for our students. So if you look at this excerpt, which again reminds you as an instructor of what the requirements are at Ashford when it comes to instructive feedback, these are verbatim requirements that are taken right off of the online faculty expectation resource that again is shared within the COE 101 course module. So if you see the colored arrows, they remind you of things that will bridge you from being a proficient instructor to distinguished. Number one, the red arrow, embedding feedback in students' original assignments. If you can make the time to do that, even if you don't do it every week for every student, but instead, if you have a larger class, you might say, this week I'm going to do this embedded feedback for 8 students. The next week I'm going to do it for 8 different students. If you can allot your time accordingly to embed feedback, it's going to be so much more powerful to the students that are receiving it. Making sure that your comments are balanced. that you have comments about content, that you have comments about organization, that you have comments about mechanics, and that you really cover that holistic quality of the paper. And lastly, now that Canvas has the record media feature where you can record audio and or video, when you take the opportunity to share feedback that way, that can be extremely powerful to your visual learners, to your learners who are more orally based than more comfortable with oral language than print. So you may want to try that and provide some variety in your feedback. I hope that this presentation has been helpful to you. Again, if you explore the COE 101 course, you will find some additional exemplars and resources that can help to bridge you from proficient to distinguished in your instructive practice. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.